Ladies and gentlemen, fellow Toastmasters, honored guests, reflection is crucial if we want to move forward and improve ourselves. This began to dawn on me last summer, a time where teenagers such as myself seem to think a lot less. It was a college prep class that I was enrolled in by my parents, forcibly, without any consent. And like most teenagers, I found it a struggle to write about myself and to talk about what mattered to me. Because what mattered to me at the time was sleep, food, and making sure I had a fun time and didn't do any work over summer. I thought back to a time where I was involved in a race and religion concept, and I came back to a moment where a student during my freshman year had exploded my world. I was walking in the hall with a couple of friends talking about what we did the weekend before, the heroic adventures that we had that involved sleeping, playing video games, and not doing homework. And then a student behind me said, "Hey, can you make a bomb?" And dumbfounded about how he knew and he was able to base such a serious accusation, and obviously a false one, for pure entertainment, shook my world up like a snow globe. But from that moment on, it initiated a series of questions, all boiling down to one important one. Who am I? To figure that out, what did I need to do? The first step, reflection. And with that process, I figured out that, yes, I should be more open-minded in case I were to do the same thing, to be insensitive to someone else's background and identity. However, the most important thing I learned from that is that reflection is necessary if I want to become a better person. I began to see myself in different aspects because I was used to everyone else, especially in Toastmasters, giving me an evaluation. And never did I ever have to give myself an evaluation. And I think that most of us can relate to the fact that thinking about ourselves isn't the first thing we go to when we want to improve ourselves. We often wait for others to give us advice. Because of this, we miss out on a huge aspect of moving forward and doing that quickly, because our lives revolve around moving forward. One example of this is Toastmasters. Why do we all come here? It's so that we can become better at speaking. Is that right? Yes, and to do that, we give our speech, we give our evaluations, and we try to take something back from it. Because of that, we are able to become better speakers, better communicators, and it helps us in every aspect of our lives. Because of the whole aspect of reflection, I was not only able to realize that I needed to reflect on myself, something that I wasn't able to do, but to do so regularly, almost on a daily basis. To come back to myself at the end of the day and think, what have I done today? What can I do better tomorrow? And for most of us, this is something extremely hard. And I would say that almost 80% of us will not actually do that in a whole month. We'll go by and just go by doing our routine, whatever that be, school, work, or whatever we do. And then I realized the first step of becoming a better person is realizing that you need to become a better person. And the only way we can do that is by reflecting on our past, which I believe is a guidebook for our future. Toastmasters.
All right. Let's start our evaluations on this side of the room. Saad, would you like to begin?
Sure. So you're in 11th grade? Wow. Can I see your ID? So that was an excellent speech. I really liked your use of vocal variety. You had really good eye contact. You had good gestures. You had a couple picture words, which I love. Snow globe. And there was one last one, I just missed it. Or I'm forgetting it now, but let's see. I had a hard time following along with the speech, so maybe if there was a rough outline. That's all I have for stuff. Thanks. Good.
It was really good. Again, I agree. For being in 11th grade, you're doing a great job. And the only few things I could suggest are possibly you used good gestures, but you consistently used going like this quite a bit. So I would use that a few times to make the strongest points, and even just having your hands down by your sides can be okay. You don't always have to be doing a gesture. But again, use them to emphasize. But you did a great job, like talking about went back then, and pointing backwards. That was good. So a lot of your gestures really did add. The only other thing I would say is a little bit more vocal variety. You used a pretty consistent cadence through. So if you think about a little bit more of just changing it up for when you're making really strong points versus, and then I did this, and my parents did this to me. And just a little bit more changing the speed and the cadence a little bit. But wow, I wish I was doing that. Great.
Yeah, very well done. Practice as a parent. Something that I'm going to have to piggyback on Kate's though is the cadence. For me, near the beginning, it felt kind of fast. And your energy seemed nervous with the gestures, but then as you got into it, you started to get better, and there weren't very many pauses leading up to a certain point, and then there were purposeful pauses sprinkled throughout. That was good, but I would say try and use some of that more towards the beginning of the speech as well, so that you can have a similar structure throughout.
Same thing to me, your gestures seem a little unnatural to repetitive, so they were a little bit distracting. Some felt natural, but for the most part they felt like you were trying too hard with them, and they don't seem natural, so that was a bit distracting to me. The story's a little bit all over the place. Like you got the very end to a good point, which was your history, and you know that's an important part of reflecting on who you are, but you don't get to talk about it, so leave it out, because you know it's like, okay, now he got to another point that you don't explore. So why even bring it up? You had enough with what you had. And for me personally, the snow globe thing didn't work at all, because snow globes, you shake them and it's pretty. It's like wonder. Like, oh, so pretty, it shakes, and you watch them come down because it's pretty. And that was not what you meant. You were like, you wanted a shocking thing, and I would look for something else for shock. Other than that, I do think that you're doing great, and
You pass. That's his mother.
But anyway, yeah, I agree with the comments. Very nice speech. Very nice speech. I really enjoyed your personal insights. It made me want to know more about the story. And I really liked the topic. It reminded me of an exhibit I was in a couple 6 months ago. The name of the show was Mirror Image. And it was a reflection of what you chose to reflect. Oh, that was the piece I put in. It was Through the Looking Glass was the theme, and I put in a piece I called Mirror Image because it was reflecting and refracting imagery in a certain way. So I like that. And the other thing, it brought back my professor in college when we were learning how to put clothing. She always said the wrinkles point to the problem. And of course, you know, the wrinkles weren't the problem, but they pointed to where you needed to take fabric out or let fabric out. So it's, you know, very, very good concept to carry through. I think you're on a very good track.
I like the speech. I pass on to you.
Okay. Excellent. 11th grader or not, I've definitely seen other Toastmasters not give this good of a speech. Hoping to do that well when I get up in a few moments here. So nicely done. I think you have some very good gestures. I do think they need to slow down a bit. There's definitely some nervous energy, but you're going to keep doing this in front of groups, and that's going to slow down. One of the places that I see that happening is actually in your foot movement, where you're doing a bit of this as opposed to walk, plant yourself, talk to us. In this room, I find this room a little bit difficult because the tables are pushed up so far and there's not a lot of space up there. But still, moving purposefully, I think, will help you a lot. I think pause a little bit more when the kid behind you asks, hey, can you make a bomb? It's like, that's a what the fuck kind of moment, you know? And so, and for lots of us who haven't had a lot of racism, bias coming at us, we just need another moment to go, did he say what I think he said? So just let it hang there for a minute after that, because it's powerful. And then into the self-reflection piece. I really like the topic. I think this is great.